Hi, my name is Kaitlyn Mannor, and this is my informative speech on why you should utilize telehealth services. Healthcare is vital to our world and has shaped science into what we know it as today. Many found that healthcare was not always as accessible as we may find it to be today. Why was healthcare inaccessible? Due to high traffic for many healthcare organizations, bed space was always being used by some patients who were not considered as critical as other patients. To combat this, the introduction of telehealth services was proposed and has influenced the healthcare world as we know it today. Telehealth services should be utilized for almost every healthcare concern or questions you have. It is important that we understand the importance and necessity of utilizing telehealth services. According to the Mayo Clinic, telehealth services utilize accessibility through the digitization of healthcare to reach all patients. The use of digital platforms for healthcare helps promote the access to healthcare services remotely, as well as the ability to manage when care is provided. While telehealth services were introduced within the early 2010s, they were not always utilized until the COVID-19 pandemic. While the pandemic was terrible for many, it allowed for the development of telehealth services, which we are still relying heavily upon today. Now you may be asking yourself, why should I care about telehealth services? Telehealth services promote the accessibility of healthcare services. Supported by healthcare author William Barbosa, telemedicine has improved access to care that ranges from pregnancies to strokes by allowing for contactable care providers every day and every hour. Without telehealth services providing this accessibility, we would continue to see a decline in overall care quality that we are receiving from our primary care providers. Utilizing telehealth services allows for us to receive care or advice that we need in moment, which then physicians can analyze our health and then take the further severity that is necessary for our care. Many find that healthcare to be inaccessible, specifically for vulnerable populations. In 2021 alone, 19.6% of the population that identified as part of a minority population could not access or afford healthcare. According to the Mayo Clinic, through the use of telehealth services, we see more and more underserved populations receiving access to healthcare, as there is no longer a need or urge to travel, as well as the digital divide continuing to lessen. Telehealth services continue to combat the inaccessibility of healthcare by implementing and maintaining services all at the same time, diminishing any lack of care that is not being provided to underserved populations. Not only have telehealth services promoted accessibility, but these services also ensure the privacy and confidentiality of your medical records. Supported by Lee Kim, the current Director of Privacy and Security for the Healthcare Information and Management Systems in Society, telehealth services are established through a process of strong authentication, end-to-end encryption, keeping a clean database and removing files that may seem to be invasive, and filtering any form of phishing or contacts that may be considered as a scheme for patients or the elderly. Many healthcare organizations not only utilize telehealth services to promote accessibility, but also to promote the usage of healthcare outside of care facilities. Within the past 2 years alone, we have seen a large decrease in the taking up of bed space within a healthcare organization. This means that we are seeing less patients face to face as they are receiving care without ever stepping foot into the facility, leaving bed space for those who need critical or urgent care. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention shows that during the COVID-19 pandemic, telehealth services increased up to 90%, allowing for physicians to utilize face-to-face care for those emergency events. Now that you have been informed of the importance of telehealth services, you'll know the importance of utilizing it yourself as a form of care. Going forward, I ask that all of you utilize telehealth services when you have small questions that you need dire answers to. We must utilize healthcare organizations to help promote quality care for the patients that are in dire need for emergency services, such as hospital rooms or primary care physician offices. Thank you. That was my informative speech.